A play fake. Young goes deep middle. He's got Jerry Rice. Touchdown 49ers!
Welcome to another edition of the 49ers Family Podcast, where three generations of 49ers fans break down the game each week and hear from Grandpa Mike as he shares personal experiences since he became a fan in 1949. Woo! What a week. What a game. You guys were there. Oh, it could not have gone any better. And on top of it all, no injuries to report. What a game. I want to get you guys' thoughts. First, though, tell me about the experience being at SoFi with the red wave, the red takeover of the stadium.
Yeah, it was incredible. I kind of promised myself that in the first 2 years that SoFi was open, that I'd get there for a game, and COVID hit and that. But so finally, thanks to Andrew and Jared, we went to a game, and it is unbelievable. The stadium is unbelievable. We needed like 3 ushers to guide us to our seats. It's that complex and complicated, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I think the best way to explain it is that stadiums today, or in the last number of years, they generally cost about $1.5 billion. Levi, I think, was $1.4 billion. SoFi, it costs $5.5 billion, 5 times as much. And you know, when you first arrive, it looks like you're in outer space. I mean, this building is like no other.
Crazy.
And, great accommodations, great. They had a lot of people guiding you and helping you, and they were very polite. You can tell they were well trained. The stadium is, I call it the best stadium in the world.
It looks like a palace. I know a lot of people refer to it as a palace because it is beautiful. It's huge. It's not, it's aesthetic. That's super cool. And then Dad, tell us about how you guys ended up on the 5th row.
Yeah, of course, Andrew, my son-in-law, he said he got tickets, so we show up and we're excited to go. And he flashed me the tickets as we're outside the stadium, as we're walking up, and I saw like section like 120 and like row 5, but section 120 just sounded like we're going to be, that seems very low. We're not section 710, but nonetheless, then we asked somebody to help us know which entrance should we go into. And a lady helped us, and she said, yeah, you can go through any of these any of these entryways, and then you need to go like down, like you're going to go down instead of going up. So I knew something good was happening. So yeah, we found our way through. We entered the stadium the furthest part possible. We had to go all the way to the other end of the stadium, the other end zone, if you will. And we were down on the correct level, trying to make our way around the stadium, but there were special suites and things, and ultimately probably the locker room and everything. We had a spot we couldn't go further. We had to go back up and over and then back down, and then ultimately we made it to our seats. And yeah, we were 5 rows up, and it was like watching a high school football game, and we were closer than a high school football game. It was truly amazing, and an experience I'll never forget. I told Andrew it'll go down in the history books for experiences. So cool. Yeah. And the stadium is beautiful. That big like teardrop shell that it has is actually more like it's like a screen. It's actually metal with like tiny holes in it.
Oh, interesting.
So light does filter through, and then they have plants and palm trees and beautiful greenery underneath this basically screened kind of umbrella. yeah, just the aesthetics of it and the functionality of that stadium. It is certainly state of the art. There's probably not a bad seat in the place, and the screen is beautiful. Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and yeah, we had epic seats, and just seeing the players, you could, like Christian McCaffrey, he's like bald like me, in the back. I mean, you're looking at the guy with his helmet off. I mean, they're right in front of you. You can see the size of their quadriceps or their biceps, and get a feel for their personalities. It looked like Trent Williams is just like a really fun guy, and fires up the team, but he's totally like this veteran presence that grounds everybody. You know what I mean? Saw him warming up with the team, and you could tell he was kind of, everybody's looking to him, so just really fun to see it firsthand and get a feel for their personalities. Kittle was just like Kittle what you would be when he's off camera. Yeah, it was really fun. So
that's awesome.
Good times.
Well, let's break down the game a little bit. You got me all excited. What a game it was. Really, I think it's a one of those games where it's a story of two halves. So talking about the first half, it felt like, and I teased this a little bit, or not teased this, but I kind of predicted this a little bit last episode, that I was scared that the Rams were going to take, a few pages out of the Chiefs playbook and take our line out of the situation, and really just kind of do some screens and different things. And sure enough, that's exactly what they were doing. They were marching down the field, long, sustained drives, and our D line was just left kind of looking around. We would get rushes, but that's what they wanted us to do. And it would just seem like, oh man, we can't stop these guys. Besides, the first, 3 and out, or the first series of the game, they were going down the field, and we had a couple, good parts ourselves. But going into halftime, I was a little nervous. And then, real quick, second half, what a different story the second half was. They couldn't move the ball. We looked freaking amazing, poured it on, ended up winning by 17 points. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better outcome. What did you think, Grandpa?
Well, before the game, I thought, this is maybe a make or break game for our season. We could end up 3-5 and be swimming upstream the rest of the year, like a year ago, or we could be 4-4. But then we were actually going into this game down 9 starters.
Yep.
9 of the 22 didn't play that started the season. And that was Debo and Armstead and Kinlaw and Mosley and Greenlaw and Alshear and Juszczyk and Mitchell and Trey Lance. Yep. 9 guys didn't play. We were on the road against the world champion. So before the game, I'm going, boy, this is a monumental task. And they answered the bell. It was a solid, convincing win. Something happened at halftime, like you just alluded to, Josh, as far as the defense was concerned, because the Rams were moving. It was 14-10 at halftime. And in the second half, the Rams didn't score. They gained 58 yards, and they averaged 1.5 yards per play. So they were completely shut down. Cooper Kupp scares you to death. I mean, he seems to always be open. Yep. He caught 1 pass for 6 yards in the second half. In the first half, he caught 8. So it was just outstanding. And then we were surrounded by about 60,000 of our best friends wearing red. And it's so much fun to go to a visiting stadium. I've been to a lot of stadiums, and usually you're overwhelmed by the home crowd. Well, we were the home crowd, and phenomenal, just phenomenal.
That's so cool. Dad, what pops off to you on the box score itself?
Box score, just key pointers for their which I love and would have been a game changer, is no turnovers. And we did have a couple potential turnovers, but we were able to recover the ball. We had a drop ball by Ramsey. I mean, those could have stopped a ton of momentum. It was critical, but no turnovers allowed us to get a rhythm and some momentum going. Other box score things, Jimmy G, 21 of 25. That is glaring. Christian McCaffrey, we haven't talked about him yet, but 50% of our yards were as a result of him touching the ball. 100 yards rushing, 55 receiving, 34 passing, 189 total yards of offense just through him. And then lastly, Grandpa said it right, Cooper Kupp, total yards, 79 yards for the game. If you keep Cooper Kupp to 1 TD and 79 yards, you're gonna win the game. And our offense found a rhythm that second half, and it was a beautiful thing. And I think it was a great momentum builder going into the bye. We're only getting stronger and healthier, and build around Christian McCaffrey, bring back Debo. So those are my highlights of box scores. No turnovers was one of my favorites, and Cooper Kupp being held to just 79 yards.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one. And that kind of leads me to talk about kind of players of the game. And this game, what was, and I think a lot of beat writers and reporters have been talking about this, that second half was purely complementary football. The offense was firing, the defense was firing. And if you can take that and, replicate it across the back half of the season, nobody's going to want to play us. And we're only going to get healthier. But players that really stood out in this game, I might say that this was Jimmy G's best game he's ever had. Unbelievable. Top 5 completion percentage in a game in 49er history, behind 2 games of Steve Young, 1 of John Brody. I think the 4th was maybe Joe Montana. I forget who the 4th was. But, just amazing. The throws that he made were spectacular, rolling to the left, throwing across his body to the back of the end zone to George Kittle. The defender backpedaling, reaches up, can barely miss it. Boom, perfect throw, great execution. He looked great. He looked better than Matt Stafford, honestly. And I think a lot of that has to do with Mr. CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Something that David Lombardi said that I really buy into is that, one of Jimmy G's weaknesses is, of course, pocket pressure. He's not super quick with his feet. And so it's either get the ball out or try and throw the ball away before you get sacked. But what Christian McCaffrey does, he adds a layer of pass protection, not in a traditional sense, but in the way that he's an outlet. He can get through his reads or even stop at his second read, and before he gets sacked, get it to Christian, because Christian's going to get 7 yards every single time that guy touches the ball. And not every single time, but the majority of times that he is that little outlet guy, boom, he gets 5 yards up just even falling forward.
Now, yeah.
So I think that was huge. And then my defensive player of the game, and I know, Dad, you'll probably want to talk about this one, so maybe I'll hand the baton off to you guys since you guys were there in person. But Fred Warner looked like a freaking all-star. Dad's wearing his Fred Warner jersey today. We need him to be great. He was great on Sunday.
He was flying all over the place, and he was involved in, almost every defensive play in some form or fashion. He had, I think, 12 solo tackles, but he played a great game, and he was all over the place and really stepped up, and it stood out. Right away in the game, I saw they were calling his number right away. So that was a lot of fun. Just a little bit about Christian McCaffrey real quick too. The guy is, he's everything he's touted to be. And I kept saying during the game, he needs a little bit of, all he needs is a little bit of space. If you get him to like a little bit of space and he catches the ball, or he runs out and he's got a little space, the guy is good for another, 5, 10, 15, or 20 more yards when he has a little space. In a lot of traffic going through the line, that's a little tough, although he busted a big one out as well. So super fun to watch. He's got jets on his feet and he's shifty. He kind of moves like Cooper Kupp. They're very sharp, aggressive, quick movements. And he breaks ankles. I mean, it's so fun to watch in person, and yeah, super fun. So anyhow, those were a few little comments I had.
Yeah. Grandpa, who are some of your players of the game?
Well, Christian McCaffrey was phenomenal, and he is going to be I call him a yardage machine. He just gains yards. At the end of the day, he had about half of our yards. And, you know, he threw a touchdown pass. He caught a touchdown pass and he ran one in from 1 yard out. So, I mean, he just does everything. I really am bothered, like every time, you know, there's an event like this trade, the media takes a negative slant and says, in this case, we gave up too much draft capital. And that just irritates me, you know. And so after what Christian McCaffrey did on Sunday, I don't think we're going to hear that again.
No.
I mean, the guy is just amazing, and he's only 26 years old.
Right.
We have another major weapon. And yeah, so Christian McCaffrey, I love, one of the things that you get to do when you're at a game is you get to see in between plays the body language and what the players are doing and how they're lining up and everything. And Fred Warner, I am just extremely, I've always been impressed by him, but I mean, he is getting the team together. He's he does everything. I mean, he's 50 yards down the field playing pass defense.
Yeah.
You know, sacking the quarterback. He hit the quarterback 3 times.
Did you guys see the play where he literally like Superman off the ground and tackles the guy midair?
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
A flying missile is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I mean,
cool.
it was so much fun to be there, and what a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some other points too that I think are worth noting is this is obviously the first game that we saw Christian McCaffrey at 100% part of the offense. And Debo wasn't even playing. Half of the plays, he touched the ball, and I would say half of the other plays, they were keeping track of where Christian McCaffrey was, because like Christian McCaffrey was the star of the game, the triple crown, hat trick, whatever you want to call it, because he had the 3 touchdowns. But Kittle also great game, did exactly what he needed to do, got a touchdown, got that, down the seam. They were totally, guarding or looking at Christian McCaffrey, which opened up Kittle down the seam. And then also that I love to see, and 37 or 34 of the yards came from Christian McCaffrey's pass, was Brandon Ayuk, the 3rd straight game of more than 80 yards receiving. That's huge. He needs to be that guy for us, because we're going to have Debo, we're going to have Christian McCaffrey, we're going to have George Kittle. If Brandon Ayuk can consistently bring in 70, 80 yards a game, that's another guy that the defense has to worry about.
Yeah.
So love to see that. Yeah.
The other thing Christian McCaffrey does is he creates space for other players. Yep. Like Kittle. And I mean, because they've got an eye, everybody's got an eye on him, knowing he's probably going to touch the ball. And so it does create space for others. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Christian McCaffrey is a constant threat, when he's on the field. I mean, the Rams felt it very strongly by the end of the game. Like, where is he? And like Grandpa said, it opens up other players and other opportunities. He creates so much attention that it's it really gives our offense a great chance. And I love, this was the first game in a while where we've always I've been waiting for us to find a rhythm, and with the rhythm started on that one drive in the second half. Maybe it was the first or second drive, and I told Grandpa, "Here comes the rhythm. They just got to sustain this rhythm, and once they got that rhythm going, the next time they touched the ball, rhythm. They were in that flow, and that's that sweet spot. And then the defense was going ballistic. They were like on fire. That rhythm that the offense created, the defense just fed off of that, and they were, I mean, the Rams were dead in the water. I mean, once the defense was on fire. So it was fun to see, and it was palpable as we were watching it unfold. It was really fun.
Yeah, super great.
Also, I just wanted, before I forget, just give a quick shout out to this fan next to me. His name is Kale. He was from Edmonton, Alberta. He was there wearing a Raiders jersey and a Raiders hat, all by himself on vacation in Southern California. Just days earlier, he was accepted into the military in Canada. He's in his 30s, probably 34 years old. Played fullback in high school, loves the game of football, he and his dad. But he's a diehard Raider fan. And every time the Niners would score, I'd high five everybody around me. And he looked at me like, he gave me like a little hesitant, and he high fived me. And he said, "That's the only high five I've ever given for any other team's touchdown ever." The next time the Niners scored, he made me do a fist bump. He's like, "I can't do it anymore." But he goes, I like you. But anyhow, we got along really great. It was really nice to meet him. He and his dad told him about the podcast and the YouTube channel. So they were going to tune in. So I want to shout out to Kale. He's a great guy. Wish him all the best in the armed forces for Canada. He's a true patriot. And just love the guy. And I wish them all the best. And I told him I pull for the Raiders. I want them to do well. They got skunked this last.
They got skunked. They sure did.
He was like in his rooms and really down about that. But he says it's all about next year. So good luck, Kale, on that, and wish you and your family all the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, now, this is a bye week, so we're not going to preview the Chargers game this week. We'll do that next. But just thinking, reflecting on the first half of the season, going all the way back to our first episode where we previewed the season, we all looked at the schedule at that time. It's crazy to think at that time, Trey Lance was our quarterback. Christian McCaffrey was not on the Niners. Two very, very, very big things. And looking back, we each predicted how we would do. I reluctantly, but said, at least I hope we're 4-4. Here we are. We're 4-4. What I didn't think was going to be the case with that 4-4 is that the rest of our division would, that we'd still be in a good position at 4-4. I did not predict that the Seahawks would be 5-3, nor that we would beat the Rams both times. It's been a crazy first half of the season, and with injuries, etc., that we've well documented here. And it just gets me excited for that second half. It does feel like we have this bye at the perfect time. Really good momentum, beating the Rams, going into that the way that we did, kind of finding our, once again, like you said, rhythm, finding out who we are in that second half. And then we're only going to add Debo, add Elijah Mitchell, get Eric Armstead back. Oh, and honestly, the quality of the teams on the back half of the schedule, I feel like have gone down. That the Bucks aren't going to be as difficult as we thought. The Saints aren't going to be as difficult as we thought. Even the Chargers honestly looked very beatable. So it's going to be very interesting. Maybe we'll do this next week because I don't know if I'm prepared to give it myself, but we'd love to get kind of now a mid-season prediction for what our record is going to be for the last 9 games of the season.
Yeah, I want to compliment you, Josh. I think it was our first podcast when we were forecasting the first half, and you said, 4-4. And when you said it, I thought, oh no, we'll be at least 6-2. So the first half has been uneven and injury filled, and we kind of slogged through a disappointing September and October. But now we're going to have 6 of the last 9 games at home.
Yep.
And I think we're going to go on a run. I mean, everybody's getting healthy. Everything is looking good. So I'm excited about our chances, and I think it's all coming together.
Yeah, I feel the second half of the season, I think it is a perfect time for a bye, like you said, Josh. I think it's really going to serve us well. I really feel just like we do right now talking, and what I sense with the team and putting up 31 points. Also, we didn't talk about that, but that's a lot of points for our offense, who, we're probably in the lower end of the, the NFL teams on points scored per game, but 31 points was huge. The word that comes to mind is momentum. I mean, I really feel we have a lot of momentum, and not only that, but what I felt and saw with this game and Christian McCaffrey kind of coming to the top. Our defense was clicking second half. I feel like a tremendous amount of confidence. I think the team, I mean, we've all played on sports teams, and we know what we have when we have it. And then there's this little excitement. We start to feel like, you know what, we really got something really special going on here. And we don't even playing with everybody we need or have, that's right. Depot and Elijah Mitchell and other pieces. And everybody around the league, and I talk to my patients, they all say the Niners, I mean, they got pieces that everybody dreams of.
Right.
The Niners now know they have the pieces, and they saw a little spark of what it could be. Confidence and momentum, and that's contagious. It's all in, it's in the, half the game is in your head. You got to have the players, but you got to have the mindset. I think their mindset is now a winning mindset like it's never been before this year. So I feel I'm really excited to see him after the bye and to finish out this rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. I also, one thing that I did note and would love to see, as we know, unfortunately, Kyle Shanahan has a way of letting teams back in the game, that he plays it conservative when he gets a lead. But when I saw us drum up that play with Charlie, I think it was Charlie Warner, streaking down the sideline wide open, I was like, yes, that is going for the jugular. That is saying, we are not letting you guys even think you can win this game. And it made it 17. And talk about body language. The Rams came out, they did not look like they believed they could win that game. It would have taken a lot, I know that, but they didn't even look like they believed. Even sometimes, teams are down by 14 points with 3 minutes left, and they're all hurrying up and they're trying the hardest. You're like, dude, you're not going to win. These guys were down 17 and looked like they were down 30, honestly.
They were deflated. Yep.
I do worry a little bit about our secondary, to be honest, the way we're picked apart in Kansas City. I mean, Stafford wasn't able to go deep a bunch and burn us there, but our secondary looked a little weak a little bit. Jimmy Ward, we saw the whole play develop. I saw Cooper Kupp release. It's going to Kupp. He cuts through. Nobody's picking him up. And then the last second, boom, Jimmy Ward gets on and he scores. But I feel like we are against the better quarterbacks. We might have a little tougher time. The teams that like to go to the air. Rushing wise, I think we can stuff most any team. So we gotta definitely strengthen that a little bit.
Yeah. And then last thing to cover, and then we'll kind of wrap up here, is the trade deadline. We obviously got the big trade with Christian McCaffrey that was a couple of weeks before the trade deadline. But the only one that ended up going through that was honestly kind of, not predicted, but thought to maybe be a possibility was Jeff Wilson Jr. being traded with us adding Christian McCaffrey, sounded like he did have a conversation with John Lynch and said, hey, if there is a good spot, I want to be utilized. I want to be part of the game. And he knew that Elijah Mitchell was coming back. And I still, honestly, I didn't predict that the Niners would trade him away just for depth. They are gunning for the Super Bowl, and depth at running back is never a bad idea, especially in a Kyle Shanahan offense. But they found a place for him in Miami with our old friend Mike McDaniel. I got a 5th round draft pick out of it. So wish him the best. He was a great Niner. Started as an undrafted free agent. And we ended up getting a 5th round pick for him. So that's called good business at the end of the day. But good for him, good for the Niners. And let's just hope we don't need that depth, that we can stay healthy in the second half of the season.
It also shows me that, the 2 rookies that we have, they wanted to keep those guys.
Yep.
We haven't seen them yet, but, so I thought it was a good trade. We replenished one of those picks, and right now it looks like we'll have 9 picks next April. Some comp picks in there, but so it's not that the cupboard is empty.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel good. It's
a great week to be a Niner fan, wearing my red with pride this week.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of 49ers Family. I appreciate everybody tuning in, being part of our family. Until next time, let's get to just take a relaxing Sunday and hopefully just watch the rest of the division lose. I guess 2 of them are playing each other, but hopefully we see some good football and can take a break and get back next week preparing for the Chargers.
Right.
All right. Until next time, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.